ladies and gentlemen, pre-season is over and the 26-27 football season is almost underway. Pre-season's been great, seeing players play for their new clubs, seeing sort of how teams will look, even though a lot of them have not been playing full strength. I personally have not been watching much pre-season, but I've been watching a bit of pre-season content, especially rival clubs, how their fans are feeling about pre-season. And yeah, I'm just so ready for this new season to be underway. And it all kicks off with the Community Shield. Obviously we had the UEFA Super Cup the other day, but I didn't get to watch that game because we were playing against Como. But in terms of English football, which is obviously, since I support Arsenal, that is the area of European football that I'm the most, focused on. The Community Shield is, the first game that kickstarts that season, which is obviously followed by the Premier League. There's been Championship and League One and all the EFL stuff, but the Premier League, that is where it's all at, and the Community Shield will kick all that off. Look, I thought before I get into it, I'm going to obviously preview the game from more of an Arsenal perspective, but then also touch on the Manchester City part of it. I thought I might just quickly talk about the Community Shield in general, because we always get this whole discourse before the season starts. Is it a trophy? Is it just a friendly? And it's weird, because I always feel like the media and the fans and all the people around the actual world of football itself, the people that cover football, they view it very differently to the people that are actually involved in, the actual football side of things. So, you look at the media and the fans, and they all say that, it's just a friendly, it doesn't count. People, whenever they win it, try to argue that it's more than that. But in general, the majority of fans don't think it's a trophy. The media don't really cover it, preview it that much. They don't really view it as an actual trophy. But I feel like the actual footballers and managers themselves, it's very, very different. You've got that reporter the other day that asked Victor Gyökeres, if it's just a friendly, and he was very, very shocked. He's like, no, this is an actual game. This is a piece of silverware that we want to win. I remember when Kyle Walker celebrated Palmer's goal against Arsenal in the Community Shield. These players really take it serious and want to win. So yeah, it's always really interesting to see what people think about it. I've never viewed it as this massive thing, but when your team's in it, you want to win. And look, I've seen Arsenal. We actually have a very good record in Community Shields. Let me try and remember. So there was, obviously, the last one we played in was 22-23 because City won the treble and we were second in the league. And then we ended up winning it on pens. Trossard last minute goal after Cole Palmer scored. Then there was, what was the last one? Was it 2020? Because we won the FA Cup and then we were up against Liverpool that won the league, and I think we won on pens, I believe. Was it on pens? I think it was on pens. Let me actually look it up. I'm pretty sure it was the same. I think it was 1-1 and then we won on pens. Yeah, it was. Yeah, Aubameyang scored, that's right. And then before that it would have been, we went on a bit of a drought. It would have been, 2017? Again, 1-1 on pens. Kolasinac, yeah, that's right. Late goal from Kolasinac, we win on pens. And then 2014, we beat Chelsea again. So yeah, we've got a very, very good record in it. And I think we beat City 3-0 one time as well. I think that might have been 2014. So yeah, we have a very good record in Community Shield games, and apart from last season, we have a very, very good record at Wembley. Obviously, this year it isn't at Wembley, but in general, we're quite good in these sort of Community Shield games. I think we've beaten City. I think I saw a stat, we've beaten City in the Community Shield twice, and we've never lost to them. Hang on. Sorry, but yeah, no, I'm feeling excited. I'm happy that club football's back, and I think both of these teams, if we're going to talk, I guess, about the approach and how they're going to treat the game, I think both teams will treat it like it's pretty important. You know, we've obviously got Arsenal, who this is the first. Obviously, the Community Shield is normally, you know, the Premier League winners guaranteed to get in there, and then they're against either the FA Cup winners, or if they win the FA Cup, it's second in the league. And out of all the times I've seen Arsenal in this game, it's either been as the FA Cup holders, or most recently, a team that didn't win anything and finished second because we're up against a treble side. Whereas this is the first time that I've seen Arsenal go into this game as Premier League champions. We are the team to beat, and I think that Man City will want to make an early statement. You know, they would want to beat us. Obviously, they didn't lose to us last season. They beat us in the Carabao Cup final at the Etihad, and they drew to us at the Emirates. So they probably want to beat us again and go, look, you guys are the champions. We are taking this game very seriously. Whereas for Arsenal, we just have that, you know, kind of recent rivalry and hatred with City. So we're not going to want to lose the game either. We're going to want to stamp down our authority and go, we are the champions. We are the team to beat. And you're not going to do it yet. So I think because of that, both teams are going to take it very seriously. And I know that City have played in this game many, many times. But that was all under Pep Guardiola. You know, they've got Enzo Maresca, and he has the opportunity in his first, I guess, competitive match, if you consider it a competitive match, to, as I said, make a statement and prove himself, you know? So I think both teams are going to go quite strong. There obviously will be certain players that don't play. I heard rumours that Haaland isn't fit, so he probably won't end up starting this game. Maybe he'll come off the bench, I'm not sure. And then Arsenal, we've obviously got, you know, Declan Rice. He's being rested, managed early in the season, so I don't think he'll play. I doubt Saka will start either. But yeah, I'm feeling both teams are going to go quite full strength. Now, obviously, the game's in Cardiff, I think. It's at Millennium Stadium. Is it still called Millennium Stadium? Let me look it up. Because I swear they changed the name, but I've got no idea what they changed the name to. Where is it? Go away. Let me go on FontMob. Community Shield. Principality Stadium. Yeah, that's right. Principality Stadium. Okay. Well, when was the last time it was there? Because I remember it used to be at Cardiff, like, decades ago. When was... Probably should have looked this up before. When was the Community Shield last in Cardiff? So it's 2026. So from 2001 to 2006, Cardiff hosted it during Wembley's reconstruction, and then this year it's coming back because Wembley's booked for a concert, and I believe that concert is the weekend. Anyway, who cares? So yeah, in Cardiff. Can't tell you the last time we played there. But yeah, this is going to be a pretty big game. You know, I'm always excited to play Manchester City just because, again, of that rivalry, and we rarely beat them. Obviously, they had that period, that like 10-year period where we just could not beat them. They would just consistently beat us every time. And then since 23-24, the last 3 seasons, we've got 2 wins in the league, 2 losses in the league. No, 1 loss in the league, 1 in the League Cup. And then, obviously, we've got a few draws in there as well. We've been drawing to them quite a bit. So yeah, I'm feeling quite good about this game. I think that it's going to be very different to the typical Arsenal versus Manchester City games. You know, normally it's, you know, City are the ones that are kind of on the ball. We're sitting in like a, we're sitting in like a compact shape off the ball, trying to hit them on the counter. Well, obviously, the furthest from that was the game early last season when we were at the Emirates and City basically, they were 1-0 up at half time, and then for the entire second half they just parked the bus until Martinelli went and got the equaliser. But I have a feeling now that Pep's gone, this game could be a bit different. I think that Arsenal could look to maybe have a little bit more, maybe have a little bit put the game in our hands a bit more, especially because we're the champions. We might want to go grab the game by the scruff of the neck. Well, not all out attack. Like, we're not going to dominate them, but I feel like we're going to try and play the game on our own terms a little bit. Yeah, look, obviously, City will still have certain players that, like, I think City will have a bit more of a technical level to the game as well. Obviously, Rodri, I believe, will play this game. I know that there's all these links to Barcelona and everything, but I don't see why he wouldn't play the game. I guess we can get more into like the actual lineups themselves here. So I'll pull up the lineup builder. We'll start with City. I guess we'll start with City. So what do I think they're going to do? They're not going to play this team. Obviously, Reinders has left. Bernardo Silva's left. A lot of these players have left. So in goal, I'm assuming Donnarumma will play, especially now that Trafford's gone. Just put the club thing there. At right back, again, assuming they'll just play Nunes. And then at left back, I think they'll probably go for their full strength defense. What? I cannot type. Now the centre backs is where it gets interesting. Obviously there will be no Stones. I could see Diaz playing. I could definitely see Diaz playing, and then maybe next to him they'll go with Guehi. I feel like that's probably what they do. Maybe they'll play Kusanov for this game. It'll be interesting to see whether City decide to bring Ruben Diaz back into like the normal starting 11, or if they just keep with the centre back pairing from last season. Obviously, no Bernardo Silva. He's left. I'll just get rid of all these players because you know what? Yeah, no, I'll get rid of all these players. Then the midfield pivot, I'm assuming it would just be Rodri Anderson. You know, that is definitely the what will be the base of City's midfield this season. And then will they go with Cherki? I feel like they won't play Cherki. You know, I've got a weird feeling that they might go with Foden. You know, he's just been given a new contract. This isn't, you know, like this is just the first game of the season. Maybe they don't want to overplay. Maybe they don't want to like play Cherki because he was at the World Cup. So I've got a feeling that they'll probably go with Phil Foden in this game. And then I'm expecting them to just go with Semenyo on the right, then Jeremy Doku, and if Haaland isn't playing, this probably leaves Omar Marmoush with an opportunity. So I'm expecting this will be the team that City play. You know, it could be like Cherki in there, it could be Gvardiol or Kusanov in there, and then if Haaland's fit, he could go up front. But then the rest of the team I'm pretty confident with, because this is most of City's best team. But yeah, I feel like this is kind of the 11 that they'll go with. Which yeah, it's pretty full strength. Like except for Cherki and maybe you could argue Kusanov, and obviously Haaland because he isn't fit. This is a very very strong team. Like I could definitely see them going for something like this. As for Arsenal, in goal, obviously David Raya. Thank God. I do not want to watch any of these other keepers anymore. At right back, Timber's currently having like fitness issues, so it'll probably be Ben White. Then at centre back, I'll go with just Gabriel Mosquera. I think it will probably be Hincapié at left back over Calafiori, because Calafiori's pre-season was not very good. Like he actually had a pretty poor pre-season, and also I remember Hincapié did a great job on Semenyo at the Etihad. I know in the cup final it was very cooked. But at the Etihad, he absolutely pocketed Semenyo. Like he kept him out of the game completely. In midfield, I think Skelly will keep his spot, and then I think Bruno G will be given the start. I don't think Zubamendi. I don't think the Spanish players will be back. I'm not exactly sure what's going on with them because they didn't play any preseason at all. Maybe they'll be back for this game, but probably not to start. And I guess you could argue that because Bruno's a new signing, he's only played 45 minutes for Arsenal. They probably won't give him the start, but I feel like they will. I feel like Bruno's going to get the nod to start. Now for the attack. The attack's very interesting. I think on the left it'll be Zolis. You know, outside of the Como game, he's been trusted in pre-season, and he's gotten a goal contribution in all of his games, which is kind of crazy. All the games he started, at least. Up front, I think Arteta's going to go with Havertz. I probably would go with Havertz over Gyökeres just because I feel like Madueke will be on the right, and Gyökeres and Madueke when they're in the same team don't look very good. Whereas I feel like this front three gives a lot of balance, and then in the 10, it's going to be Martin Odegaard, which I guess I should probably change the formation. It'll probably be like a 4-3-3. Like when we actually watch the game, it'll probably be more of a where the fuck is 4-3-3? Am I blind? It's right up here. Fuck. It'll probably be a 4-3-3 with like something like that, with Bruno sitting as like the main 6, Lewis Skelly as that left 8 driving forward, and then Odegaard in that 8 role. It could be something like that. Like we could, because Lewis Skelly has been playing as a lone 6 in a lot of pre-season with 2 10s ahead of him. We could see like, Bruno Guimaraes playing as that 8. Oh wait, I just realised. Playing as that 8, trying to move forward, trying to get Zolis more into the game in like, set more central positions. Because I feel like Lewis Skelly, I feel like both of them are more 8s. But whereas I would probably rather see Bruno sit in the 6 where he can sort of like, dictate a little bit. And then you've got Lewis Skelly who can ball carry. Whereas Bruno G, if Bruno G's in the 6, he'll be able to use his like deep, it's like passing from deep. I don't know. Do you guys think Bruno G is more effective passing from deep or more in the final third? I think more in the final third. But I also think that Lewis Skelly isn't a 6. Like I think we don't really want to lose that ball carrying that Lewis Skelly offers the team. So I think that Bruno is a good enough 6 that this would work. I feel like this is how the dynamics of that midfield would go. And then Odegaard's obviously the most advanced 8, trying to, have some combinations on the right hand side with Madueke and Ben White. I'd like to see him drift a bit more central to, play a bit more direct, to create chances, maybe take a few shots. Yeah, that's kind of how I feel like the team will line up. Obviously, they could be. I could see Arteta going with Dalman, which would be unreal, or even Noneri. There's a few options in like this sort of area. We've got Noneri, Dalman. That's why I don't think Saka will play this game, because we've got enough players there. Maybe he'll play like 10 minutes at the end or something and come on if it goes to pens. But yeah, that's sort of how I think Arsenal are going to approach this game, how I think we're going to line up. Now, I talked about our recent record with City, but what I didn't talk about is how we go against Enzo Maresca, because obviously we came up against Maresca, I believe, what was it, 4 times in the league? No, 3 times I think, because he was already sacked. He was already sacked before the Carabao Cup semi-finals. And then obviously he was already gone before we played Chelsea at the Emirates. So there were the 2 games from the 24-25 season, and then there was the game at Stamford Bridge last season. And all 3 of those games, we have 1 win, 2 draws, unbeaten. But I don't think we played particularly well in any of those games. I guess if we go and find, the actual games themselves, which will go. The first game was the. Oh wait, no, we weren't unbeaten because Chelsea beat us 1-1. Yeah, I forgot about that. So this was the last time, and despite the fact that Chelsea had 10 men for over half the game, we were quite poor. Like in that second half, the second half was when we started actually, putting our foot on it a little bit. But it wasn't until they went 1-0 up that we actually, started moving to them. And it wasn't a great performance. We should have won we should have played a lot better than we did. In the first half, they were significantly better than us, in my opinion. I know the XG doesn't really show that, and they had less of the ball. But if you actually watch the game, 10 touches in the opposition box, we were struggling. And then we go to the 1-0. This is probably the most irrelevant game Arsenal and Chelsea have ever played. I remember no one cared about this game. Hardly anyone even watched it. Obviously, Marino scores from a corner, I believe. Yeah, from a corner, but it was a pretty dead game. Nothing really happened. We were probably the deserving team to win, but again, nothing happened. And then there was obviously the first game, which I thought first half, if I'm remembering the game correctly, no, I'm not. Thought first half we were better, but we actually were quite shit. It was the second half when we were probably the better team, and then Neto scores that goal because Partey doesn't close him down. I really thought we had to win this game. And then you know what it was? It was the Trossard miss at the end. I remember that. I remember the Trossard miss at the end. Havertz scored an offside goal, and Trossard had like a massive miss at the end, but I think he was offside for it anyway. So yeah, my point is, we don't play very well against Enzo Maresca. We always struggle. He gives us a good game, but we don't normally lose, and that's why I am backing Arsenal to win this game. I think that we're going to get the win. You know, I think we've got more players out for the game than City do, but I just feel because we've got that stability, we don't have a new manager. Although City have definitely looked a lot better than us in pre-season, from what I've heard. You know, their results have been better. I think they beat Atleti like 3-1. They drew to Inter. What else did they do? I can't remember, but I think in pre-season, from what I've heard from City fans, like City fans are quite optimistic because in pre-season they've looked quite good. But yeah, look, we'll see. I'm excited for the game. I'll come out with a match reaction, you know, probably, I'd say on Monday morning maybe, UK time that is. And yeah, I'll see you then. We're back, man. We're back. I'll also later in the week do my Premier League predictions, and yeah, we're well and truly underway, and I'm so excited for this season, man. There's just so much to look forward to. Hopefully Arsenal can retain the league. Hopefully we can maybe win the Champions League, but it all starts with the Community Shield against Manchester City. I'll see you guys in the next one. Come on, you Gunners.